to going live every day. And I am actually at my son's football game. So it's halftime. So I came out here to talk to you all. I do have a subject tonight. Usually I was reading Proverbs. I read Proverbs 1, 2, and 3. And so tonight I am going to talk about food. So I get a lot of people send me requests to like go to restaurants, not actually restaurant owners, but some of my friends, they send me restaurants and tell me to go and to try them. And so sometimes I do, and then I make a video of them, and you can see that on my page. But I know sometimes they recommend restaurants and they will give great reviews. And then if I go, sometimes they don't taste as well. What I found is a lot of restaurants, some of the ones that I go to, some of them don't have recipes. They have different people back there cooking. So I wanted to just discuss and debate today, should restaurants have recipes? Now, they're business owners. A lot of them are small business owners, and they should be able to do whatever they want to do. If you don't want to have a recipe, you don't have to. It's your business. You don't. But I'll tell you why sometimes having a recipe is important. Now, we'll go back to a lot of people say, well, I just eyeball it, or I have it by memory. Well, if you're running a restaurant, not everybody's eyeball is the same as your eyeball. Not everybody's, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of salt in there, is your little bit of salt. So, I feel like if you're running a restaurant, you should have some type of blueprint of how it should be. The reason being is because the taste sometimes is off. You can have someone who really knows how to cook, they're passionate about it, and they're eyeballing ingredients. And also, too, it's not properly, what do you call it? Waste. Sometimes you may waste some things because somebody may use too much of this and somebody may use too little of that. So what I'm seeing is a lot of my friends are saying, hey, go to this restaurant or go to that restaurant, which a lot of times I do try. And then I'll go and I'm like, man, no, the food wasn't good. And they're like, yeah, right. It was great. Or, and then I may let them taste it and they're like, not the same food that I tasted. So in that, if you go to a restaurant and they don't have a recipe, a lot of times you may go and the food does taste different because there are different people who are making the food. It could be just a bad day. Several restaurants where the food is not cooked the same way that it was. Even if, for my own experience, I'll go to a restaurant and I'll say, hey, let me have such and such, and I'll get it. Case in point, a lot of times when you go to a restaurant that serves macaroni and cheese, now, if you go to something like a Chick-fil-A, or who else does mac and cheese? I believe KFC used to do mac and cheese. I think Popeyes now does mac and cheese. If you go to chain places like that, usually the mac and cheese is going to taste pretty much the same. Why? Because more likely they're not cooking it there. And even if they are, it's the same formula, but they're probably warming it up. At soul food restaurants, at restaurants where they're cooking from scratch, unless they're using box ingredients or something, they are usually really getting in there and making that mac and cheese. So if you have someone who makes the roux a little bit differently than you do, everybody thinks they can make mac and cheese. That's the problem. Everybody's mac and cheese. Nobody says they have nasty mac and cheese. Not one person. If someone's now, there are people who say, no, I don't know how to make it. And then there's the ones who make mac and cheese and they think it's delicious. Well, a lot of times, if you're making it at home, you're not really going through a recipe. You are kind of thinking off the top of your head what you want. You're adding different things. You're adding a lot of different stuff that you usually wouldn't add, right? So that actually kind of puts it into play where you're just like, okay, this mac and cheese tastes different this time, so I'm going to make it different this time. That's fine at home. But when you're at a restaurant, what I want people to kind of understand, especially restaurant owners, is we are coming back for that same taste, that same service. And say, for instance, if someone gets a wonderful plate of mac and cheese one day, and then they come back and they're bragging about your restaurant, they're talking about that mac and cheese, and then the next day they send tons of people to your restaurant, and then that mac and cheese just falls short. Why? Because you, as the owner, made it on Tuesday, and now you have your cut or your employees making it on Wednesday, and somebody different is making it on, another different employee is making it on Thursday. And if you all are eyeballing it, or you all are just putting your own little spin on it, it's not going to taste the same for the customers. So we are getting different experiences each time, every single time. And I've noticed that at a lot of different restaurants, when I go, it does not taste like the same food. And sometimes it's spectacular. Sometimes it's better than when I came. And I understand that with a lot of like soul food restaurants, you can't just always have it exactly the same. But I feel like I've seen some people in restaurants where they're making certain the mac and cheese, or they're making breading for fish or chicken, and they will say, no, we just kind of put the seasoning in there, we know what it looks like, we know what it tastes like. And I don't think that's good. There was a restaurant that I went to, and I the restaurant is pretty decent, and I went and the food was extremely salty. Usually it's not salty when I go, but on that day it was very, very salty, almost that I couldn't eat it. It was almost inedible. So for restaurant owners and just people who are in their cooking, it would be great if you could at least have something that the people can go by, some type of chart, some type of recipe. And some people do have those charts up in their restaurants, and people come in there, and sometimes chefs may have an ego, and they think that they can cook and they're the best in the land, and then they start going off their own thing. And you just can't do that, because not everybody's palate is the same. And that's just like another thing, using mac and cheese as an example. All mac like your grandma's mac and cheese. If your grandma could put her foot in it, it's not going to taste like that, especially some restaurants. But at least make it good, restaurant. So I just wanted to get on there and see if anybody wanted to debate or talk about if restaurants should have recipes. Of course, like I said, if you're a restaurant owner, you do what you want to do. But I think to make it all even across the board, that's why when you go to McDonald's, and if you're in Ohio, you go to McDonald's in, let's say, Tennessee, all the McDonald's pretty much are going to taste the same. I went to Dubai, and the McDonald's pretty much tastes the same. It tastes a little different because of the way that they treat the food, but it was still pretty much the same and the same concept, because they do it clear across the board. So, all right, I just wanted to get on here and talk about that. I am your girl, the real Gina B. Date with the plate. Only eat it if it's good.